the IRS.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations that practitioners have right now is the IRS is messed up.
Yep. I don't know that they know from day to day what their job is. I mean, now they're the biggest handler of social welfare programs in the world. They're not just a tax collector. They're handing out earned income credits, stimulus payments, child tax payments. These aren't roles that we ever envisioned the IRS doing. And they come with political pressure to say, you've got to get these checks out within 60 days. So it shuts the whole agency down.
Yeah.
And then things pile up, and then they don't have motivations to catch them up because they're leaving at 4:30. They'll get run over if you try to get in the way of them leaving on weekends.
Friday. What is that noise?
I'm in an office and it's we got people doing some lawn work outside, but that's okay because we're talking about reach reporting right now.
We're not talking about lawn work then.
No. All right, this is our reach reporting ad. You've never built a report like what Reach can offer because you've never had such an easy access to all your financial data before. Reach reporting places all of your data at your fingertips to provide powerful financial insights. Reach is easy to use, is enjoyed by business owners, accounting professionals, and newcomers alike. Reach gives you the power to create spectacular, actionable reports utilizing all your data, no matter where it is stored, with surprising ease and efficiency.
Reach reporting automatically pulls financial data from your software to automate financial reports in minutes. Select from templates or build dynamic reports from scratch from their powerful toolset. Built on a spreadsheet environment makes it easy to build and customize any report imaginable. You know, it's like Word, Excel, PowerPoint all working together to create these management reports. I think that's pretty cool. Reach is the Microsoft suite of reporting. Sweet.
You can build any metric that you want. It's like using Excel, but with live accounting data.
Live accounting data.
God,
That's pretty
accountants
cool.
love that.
They do. They love Excel, but they also love reports. And clients love reports too.
Yeah.
Dashboards and reports that kind of tell a story. I feel like I already know how to use this product and I haven't started using it.
It's you want a product that you don't have to, especially with reporting products, that you can use right away. Because if it takes a lot of time to do it, accountants don't have that time.
Well, we also don't want to learn new things. A lot of times we just want something to work right out of the box because we spent our whole lives learning new things. We don't want to learn something new when it comes to reporting. We know what we want the report to look like, and now we just want it to be effortless. I think Reach does that. Joining live data, Excel-like functionality, and gorgeous presentation. Clients absolutely love the reports that I will send them. The clients will absolutely love the reports that I send them.
Or you send them. It takes us minutes to build and create. So basically, it's not going to take you that much time, and you're going to be able to give them fantastic reports.
So for our firm, at least, the success of our advisory services really relies on a strong relationship between us and the client, and strong relationships start with communication. And also, you can't just give them data and without the visuals, right? They need the visuals. Clients get a deep understanding of their financial situation with these Reach reports. Advisors work in this native environment.
And reporting for clients is tough for a bunch of reasons. It is tough because every client's a little different. So you need a software that can help you standardize some processes and create beautiful reports, and that's what Reach does.
I love the customization to their reports too. You know, you can customize your branding. They basically white label everything.
Like custom Jordans.
I do like custom Jordans.
And you like your custom reporting.
Custom Jordans and custom reporting. I can't fathom what they're going to do next.
So go to reachreporting.com and check them out.
Turn your custom reports into templates you can automate every month, quarter, or year. Reach Reporting, complex data made simple. Visit reachreporting.com to learn more.
Roger, last time I was down in Athens, that's the course I played, UGA.
Yeah. Too damn hard for me, I can tell you that.
I shot my best round there this year from the tips. Shot an 80.
Wow. I'm impressed. It's almost 7,500 yards probably before you played it, Jason, now.
Yeah. That's an awesome golf course.
You know, it's funny. It's my best 9-hole score has ever been out there, but I'm too old and too short now to play it. It's a tough golf course.
I really like walking that course.
Yeah, but the good thing is it's open. Like, it's hard to lose a ball. You can.
Oh, yeah, you can. I can prove that.
I like the stretch on I think it's like 12 where the par 5 over water and then you got the par 3 over water.
Yeah, 12 and 13. Yeah.
I want to be on the course instead of just talking about it.
Have you ever played with Scott?
No.
Scott becomes a chain smoker and will have a one blow up hole where he will throw his clubs.
Only when we're playing for money. Only when we're playing for money, and I know I'm going to lose at 17. That's when I get a little upset.
Yeah, I mean, I never played golf for a lot of money because that's not why I played golf. I played golf to relax and enjoy myself. So it was always to me important who I played with more than how good they were or how good I
That's
was.
what I'm talking about.
We
Yeah,
had a lot of fun.
Exactly.
I love the conversations of golf, and I love the company that you keep while you play. I don't care so much about because ask Ackerman, I'll enjoy playing the whole time until I realize I'm going to lose money, and then I'm like, oh, fuck. I didn't pay attention to these last 2 holes. Let me do them over.
Yeah. I only got one hard rule when it came to golf, and that was I will not play golf if I don't need a cooler to keep the beer cold.
That's
Yeah.
a good rule. So like 55 degrees.
Yeah, if I don't need a cooler for the beer, then it's too cold for me to play.
Yeah.
What
I
about
like
Dart
that.
Girl?
You had to bring your
All right.
own.
All right,
Let me
Scott.
do my intro. I actually
do
wrote
your
an
intro.
intro. Hello and welcome. We are the Sons of CPAs. Join us as we question the current state of the accounting and tax industry with the next generation of professionals leading this space. We are the change agents in an industry fraught with money and inertia. Let's begin the Sons of CPAs with your hosts, Jason Ackerman and Scott Scarano. And we could have called it every generation of CPAs because Roger Harris here is joining us of Padgett Business Services. Thank you Roger, for joining us today. Very
Yes.
special thank you. Yeah.
Was your dad a CPA?
No,
Well, Roger, are you a CPA? I don't even know if I know.
no, I'm an enrolled agent. I
Apologies.
graduated from the University of Georgia and then went straight to work with Padgett, but never went back to take the test.
It's almost like you found your career, you found your calling. Did you really need a CPA at that point?
Not for the work that I was doing then, or honestly for the work I've been doing since then. I think there's a certain amount of credibility. There's a certain amount of pride in the CPA license. But by the time I realized those two things, I was too ingrained in what I was doing and just never really found the time to go back and do it. I mean, I wouldn't tell anyone not to do it, but for the kind of work that we do, the enrolled agents license gives us what we need to operate in a tax world, which is for the most part where we operate. We don't do reviews or audits or anything like that. So we don't need it for that. But you still have to explain to everybody what an EA is. You don't have to explain
Exactly,
to
yeah.
everybody what CPA is.
I usually say executive assistant. I'm going to assist you in anything you need with the IRS, and I'm just going to be that liaison. I'll take pride in saying that too, because honestly, I have a team that's CPAs. We're just not going to give you a public opinion on your financials. Not even my team will, even though they're a CPA.
Right. No, I've asked that question. The worst thing about enrolled agents is they think you work for the IRS.
And you do work with the IRS, maybe not for, but you work with them. And
With,
that's
but
a-
not for.
yeah.
Yes.
Ackerman.
Well, I want to know how you got into accounting.
It was by luck or happenstance. When I was at Georgia, I originally started in pre-law. Now, don't ask me how I picked pre-law, and it sounded like something I should do. And then quickly I realized that probably wasn't for me. So I went to the business school, and accounting seemed to make the most sense to me out of everything I was doing. So it was pretty much luck. I don't know why I picked it. And at the same time, as I was finishing up my degree, I went to work for Mr. Padgett. And so I just kind of gravitated from college graduate to full-time employee and never left. Changed a lot of roles, did a lot of different things, but was in accounting when I graduated and just hadn't found anything else I'm able to do. So I've stayed there.
So Roger, what year was this when you worked for Mr. Padgett?
God. Now you're really gonna make
I'm not dating you here.
Wow,
Actually,
you're about to get yourself fired.
I was gonna find-
I'll tell you how far back I go before I give you this year. I can remember doing W-2s and tax returns by hand. So
Well, some people still do that.
no, I was
Yeah.
in the 70s. So I was working for him in the mid 70s.
Okay.
And then
So-
And
still
was Padgett, now Padgett's franchise is 56 years, 55, 57
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
I started, there were no franchises. It was the office here in Athens, and we had some satellite offices in a couple of other towns in Georgia. Actually, Mr. Padgett was never involved in the franchising of the business. It was his two sons that finally got Padgett into franchising.
When you started with Mr. Padgett, what was your role in that firm?
Well, when I was still in college, it was basically just kind of a jack of all trades, which you could do for a few hours. Scott, you know this, picking up and delivering back then was critical because there was no technology to move data around. So one of my jobs was just after college to get in my car and drive to wherever clients were and pick up paperwork, bring it back to the office, either participate in the processing of it or just pick up other work and take it back to the clients. Again, there was no technology to do that. It was literally get in your car and go do it. So I started kind of as a delivery boy.
Paper route. You had your own paper route. That's cool. That's what happened when I worked too. I mean, you learn a lot from that though, because you get to know some of the business owners. You start to know, and I don't know if that's what you were paying attention to, but I feel like you're the type of person that was always paying attention to everything, and you cared about the business owners, right?
Oh, yeah.
So your mindset then, was this just beer money, or was this just?
Well, no, I was married, so it was survival money. But I took it. Well, first of all, if you work for Mr. Padgett, you better take it serious, or you didn't work for Mr. Padgett very long. I think he fired me 4 or 5 times to make a point. You know, fortunately, each time he let me come back.
Okay.
But,
Wait. Explain that.
probably the most famous one is I bothered to question something that he told me. You know, it just didn't make sense. And he put his arm around me and said, Roger, come with me. And we walked outside and I thought, what are we doing? We walked out in the parking lot. He said, turn around. And he pointed to the building and it on the top of it, it said Padgett. And he said, Roger, until that says Harris, just listen to what I say and you can go back in.
Are you still listening to him today? Because it still says Padgett today.
He showed up, yeah. He was around, I would. He was a brilliant man, and a lot of the stuff, you know, we do differently, but we follow some of the same principles. I can tell you it was a different world and a different time in so many ways. I'm amazed. It probably once or twice a year I'll do something and go, wow, Mr. Padgett taught me that 40 years ago, and it's still true today.
There's a lot of core values that he had and instilled, like just core beliefs on philosophies, right? That is part of Padgett. That's always been my draw to a lot of Padgett's processes and everything. And I could see his voice in a lot of these. I have stacks of paper that are just processes and different ways of and different philosophies on how to treat a client or how to treat monthly work. And I'm still doing that stuff today. Like that's it reigns true. And I think Ackerman, you know, shares a lot of those beliefs on caring about the client service and the client and putting the client first.
There was just a lot of things, just from how to market to a client, how to talk to a client, to understand what's important to a client. Those things probably haven't changed in 40 or 50 years. And he recognized it. And unfortunately, a lot of people today don't really understand that, but he understood it and he made his point, and you better listen to it, as I said. But he was a brilliant but hard man.
How many employees did he have back then before it was a franchise?
Before franchising, and remember, we were doing everything manually. I mean, literally, I went with him to help pick out the first computer, which was really just, well, nothing compared to what we have today. But counting the people out in the field in Atlanta, Augusta, and Macon, probably 12 to 15.
Oh, wow.
How did you go from the paperboy to running Padgett?
Well, it was a gradual process. I mean, again, I graduated and went to more of a full-time role, just in having more client responsibility, being trusted to do more. Ultimately, when franchising became a model, obviously the largest office was in Athens because that's where it started. So I was offered the opportunity to purchase the Athens franchise, the Athens practice. After many failed attempts with SBA loans, I finally got somebody to say yes. So I went from employee to franchisee and ran the largest franchise in the system at that time.
What was it at?
We were probably doing 900,000 then.
So that's probably like 2 million now, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite that much,
Yeah.
but it was a good practice, obviously, and took a lot of work. I mean, we were more into technology than we were in the beginning, but nowhere close to where we were today. And after having done that, honestly, the problem with, and Scott can probably relate to this, and you might can too, Jason. We're in a world where deadlines just seem to always be popping up. And I got tired. I wanted to get in business for myself because watching my kids grow up was important to me. I wanted to be able to be there whenever they were doing something. If that meant I had to work different hours, that's fine. So it gave me the opportunity to watch them grow up. But then I just got tired of having deadlines that forced everything. And when there was a change in management at the corporate level, they came to me and said, would you like to move over from being a franchisee to coming over in the corporate side? And it just seemed like the right thing to do. And it got me away from deadlines. And it required me to take a cut in pay, but that's a different story.
So what's the biggest thing that's changed? And you can't say technology because we know technology is the biggest thing. What's another thing that's changed a lot from when you started 40 years ago to now?
Well, if you won't let me do technology,
We won't let you do it now. No.
clearly the thing is when I first started, we were basically a compliance company. In other words, our job was to do things a small business owner would never do on their own. It just wasn't going to get done. So it was a much easier sell, if you will, to go in and say, you need this done and you'll never do it. I'll do it for you and it's affordable. And so it was very easy to go in and convince somebody to let you do something they hated and didn't do. Once, I'll say QuickBooks, because they were probably the beginner that I can quote. Once they stepped into the marketplace and took compliance, didn't take it completely away, but made there a different alternative, we've had to switch to be more knowledge-based and away from compliance-based. In other words, we have to bring knowledge to the table now that can tell business owners how to do better, not just tell them how we can take care of doing their sales tax every month for them or make sure their employees get their W-2s at the end of the year. So technology and the switch from compliance to advisory has been the two transitions that I don't know if they were difficult to make, but some have had a difficult time making them.
So how have you been able to take these? Because Padgett obviously is a, like you said, 50+ year franchise, and you've got a lot of older owners of Padgett. Has it been a struggle to get them to change their mindset?
Sure. Yeah, no, and Padgett's not unique. It's true in the industry.
I mean, that's what everyone's dealing with, exactly what you just said.
Yeah, it's hard. We're so, my new saying that I've come up with recently is we have to stop getting paid for what we do and get paid for what we know. And for years, we got paid for what we did. We did tax returns, we did W-2, but now we have to get paid for what we know. And for a lot of people, that's a dramatic change and they're comfortable. They've done it for 20, 30 years this way. It's hard for them to understand. They know a lot, but they don't know how to sell what they know. They know how to sell what they do. And people aren't buying what they do anymore. They're buying what they know. A lot of talking, a lot of courses, a lot of convincing, and ultimately the market will convince them in the long run that you have to do this.
So at what point do people have to start selling themselves?
When you say yourself, I assume you mean your firm. You're not selling you as a person.
I don't mean that in a prostitution type form, but do they have to start selling themselves more so than they are selling the services? People need to kind of learn how to sell their knowledge, maybe sell the value of their knowledge, right? Like talking to a potential client.
I think the market's going to is going to force you, because they're not going to buy what you're selling if you're just selling the old time compliance work, because there's cheaper and different ways to get it now than certainly when I started. Again, the challenge that I think we as an industry have is every product that we produce looks backwards. You get a tax return for last year, you get a profit and loss statement for last month, and yet our value is not looking backwards, but looking forward and trying to take those documents that we prepare and talk about how this can make you better tomorrow and help you tomorrow and make you more money or give you more free time, whatever it is your desire is in business. And for some people, they're just stuck in the past. And our product mix forces us that way, because we're always talking about how you did last month. Well, unless you can make that relative to how to do better next month, the market's going to finally say, I don't need you for that.
So last week I had on the founder of a Practice Ignition, and he sold agricultural futures. We're talking about the future forward and looking forward, and not looking backwards, but more so thinking in terms of that for now he didn't really sell futures. I think he went into school for agricultural and he used trading places as an analogy. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that movie. And that, I think that I'm dealing with this at my firm, Ackerman. I don't know if you, because you do a lot of taxes, but when we're selling services to a client, I can sell a brighter future than solving your problem, right? And if somebody has a huge tax compliance problem, we can get good $10,000-$20,000 off of that. I would rather sell them $10,000 or $20,000 of future forecasting and future work that we can do for them than plugging your hole, right? Or plugging this sinking ship.
And you don't have to do one or the other. You got to be able to do both.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do all those things. It's what are we going to add on top of that, which I find to be a lot more enjoyable personally, is to help somebody solve or prevent a problem in the future. Than I remember going back to the history again.
There's one thing you may have said, and somebody said this. It was either you or Dan, the future forward, and I think you said this. Like, I want to look through I'm driving a car. I don't want to drive through the rear view. I want to look forward. Why don't you say that again? Because you can say it better. Yeah.
And I said it, but it wasn't mine. I read it somewhere.
Sure.
But they were describing an accountant and their client sitting in a car. The client was driving and the accountant was in the passenger seat. And the description they gave was the typical accountant or tax preparer, however you want to call them, spends all their time looking in the rear view mirror and talking about what you have passed. I want to be I want my accountant in the other seat looking out the windshield telling me what's ahead. To me, it's a good analogy to think, yeah, I mean, a lot of us would be looking backwards and probably, as I said earlier, talking about what our products do, which is force us to look behind. And I think we should look ahead. This will take me way back. When we set up a new client, we used to give them little things to put on their wall, it's tape up on the wall. And one of them said, it's easier to keep you out of trouble than to get you out of trouble. And
where are those? I want to give these to people. I love that.
And I don't know where they are. And to me, that's one of the Padgett's brilliant things is looking forward is better than looking back. It's better for us to keep you out of trouble than to get you out of trouble. And
looking at the past and correcting all of you. Let's say somebody's gotten some trouble with the IRS. Well, sure, we can fix that, but really what we care about is helping you moving forward and keeping you preventing this from ever happening again. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's the old days. Somebody said yes. We whipped that out of our little kit and said, "Here, I want to give you something," and put it up on your wall to remember me by.
Whenever Ackerman wants to transition, he says that's beautiful.
No, I that is beautiful. I'm gonna steal that 100%.
Just don't let Mr. Padgett find out.
Yeah, I'll be like this old. It's like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, or Mr. Harris now too, Mr.
Yeah,
Roger. And speaking of
Harris,
Mr. Rogers, so I called Roger Mr. Rogers. Full circle.
You guys can call me anything. You'll never top the list of what I've been called. So.
Yeah, that's what I tell people, especially on the golf course. Okay, so I know that you deal a lot with the IRS.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations that practitioners have right now is the IRS is messed up.
Yep.
I mean, we obviously know there's an issue, but do you think we're going to get a solution for this? You think something's going to change?
I think it can get better. I don't think it's going to get where we want it and hope it can go. And I can give you my feelings as to why. I mean, obviously COVID has played a big part in it, but they weren't perfect before COVID. So it's not like that we took the world-class service organization and COVID hit and now they're having troubles. A lot of it is, I hate to say it, is political. They're not being staffed and not being funded the way that an agency like the IRS needs to be funded to do their job. Secondly, they're being asked to do things that 15, 20 years ago, the IRS didn't do. We didn't ask them to send out checks to everybody in the middle of filing season because of a pandemic. So there's a lot of inherent problems. It's the frustration I have with the IRS, and probably one of the things that I maybe changed me in terms of how I look at the IRS or the industry. Is I got to serve on what was called Internal Revenue Service Advisory Council for 4 years. It was supposed to be a 2-year term, but I stayed there 4. So I got to work with commissioners and high-level executives at the IRS, and I learned they have a lot of really talented people and a lot of really bad people in the same organization. And some of the bureaucracies and lack of funding in the computer system is
It's from the
way,
JFK administration.
yeah, I mean, it's so far behind. So things
That's
that you
before
and I,
Mr. Padgett, I think.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're just so far behind in basic things that you and I would, they're so proud of doing something that the private sector did 15 years ago. Good people can't do their job, and bad people have an excuse to be bad. And then you get into a system and, they're protected and you can't fire them. So it's a big bureaucracy with some really, really talented people and a mission that I don't know that they know from day to day what their job is. I mean, now they're the biggest handler of social welfare programs in the world. They're not just a tax collector. They're handing out earned income credits, stimulus payments, child tax payments. These aren't roles that we ever envisioned the IRS doing. And they come with political pressure to say, you've got to get these checks out within 60 days, which shuts the whole agency down.
Yeah.
And then things pile up, and then they don't have motivations to catch them up because they're leaving at 4:30. They'll get run over if you try to get in the way of them leaving on weekends. I mean, there's just a lot of problems, but I hate to be too critical because I know there's some really good people there, but they're doing a horrible job right now.
You said you hate to make it political, but I don't think that you have to say that anymore because I think everybody makes everything political. We're dealing with public policy, and a lot of people care more about a war, or not necessarily a war right now, but a lot of other things than they care about funding the IRS. And
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to have a political campaign and tell people, I'm going to fund the IRS. Vote for me. I don't think anybody is going to want that. So
Try to use that in your campaign slogan.
Exactly.
Give the IRS more money.
What do you think the solution is? Like, if you had an unlimited amount of money, what do you think? How can we make it better?
Well, I think part of it is money. I think you have to give them the ability to have the same technology that you and I have in our offices and be able to communicate the same ways we do with everybody but them. I'd like to see them be more open. When I served, the commissioner was Charles Rosati, and they had just reorganized. And one of the big parts of reorganization was bringing outsiders in that weren't career IRS employees and bringing their expertise in, particularly at high levels within the service to make them think outside of the box of what career bureaucrats have done. So I'd like to give them more money, bring in more people from the outside with new ideas and better ways of doing things to help the agency transition. I think we as people who interact with them have to also understand we're going to have a role in making them better. We have a lot of people who just hate them to the extent that if they can make their life more miserable, they try to. There was problems with offers and compromise first came out. You may not remember this, but there was a whole factory of people getting paid to basically submit a one-page form to get paid $1,000 just to clog up the system. I mean, I remember when I was on ERSAC, they took me to Memphis where those things went, and there were just walls and walls of unprocessable applications.
And that was meant to clog the system, to slow them down.
To charge $1,000 to fill in a one-page form that never had a chance to be processed.
Yeah.
Successfully.
Those call-in numbers where we'll get rid of your tax debt. Just pay us $1,000 and we'll fill this form out for you.
But back then you didn't even have to pay a fee. At least now they put a user fee in, so the person had to at least think about it. I mean, there was just walls and walls of fraudulent applications being sent in to an agency that didn't have the people to process them. So the legitimate ones got clogged up in that system.
At a certain point, did they say we're just going to burn all applications and now you're going to have to reapply?
No, they can't say that. They probably felt that, but they can't say it.
You'd have a big bonfire at the IRS. Yeah.
They would have liked to. I don't know. But I think money is a big part of it. I think hopefully we haven't waited too long. Now they're having a hard time keeping their talented people because their talented people are now getting up in age and retiring. They're not able to replace them either in number or in experience and knowledge. So it might get worse before it gets better. The good news is there seems to be a consensus now to give them a little more money. But the first time they make a mistake or a different party controls the budget and they pick on somebody they don't like. That's the problem. Every time the IRS picks on somebody who knows a congressman or senator, then getting that person to vote for higher budgets get harder and harder.
So I always say, if you're going to point the finger at somebody and pick on somebody, you got 3 fingers pointing right back at you. So Roger, at what point are you going to go work for the IRS and fix things? How much gas is on your tank that you're going to say, all right, you know what? I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to do this.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm too old and done this too long, and used to go see them every month before the pandemic. Now I see them via Zoom. I don't think they'd want me there every day.
Do you get to see them more now since the pandemic? Like, because you don't have to travel, so.
No, actually, it's actually worse. And this isn't because it's Zoom. When we used to meet in person, it was a smaller group that brought in more people. It was a more open discussion because it was a limited group that could be there, and we all knew each other, and we kind of knew where the lines were and what you could say and what you couldn't say and what you could share and what you couldn't share. By going to Zoom, and nobody had to make a commitment to be in a building at a certain time on a certain day, it's expanded. I think we've gone from 15 people to 60 people. And now it's actually because there's so many people.
Nobody says a word, I'm sure. It's just like everybody's quiet and one person saying their talking points, and it's not a conversation. When you have 15 people, you can split 2 pizzas among them and just be good, and you guys can have a day. And like you said, like that unspoken word of this is not being recorded or this is not on the TV, we can speak a little bit more freely and get to the meat of a conversation versus 60 people on Zoom. Well, what person's recording this conversation?
We've got a paid ad read here. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. The Sons of CPAs are about to blow your mind and get us one step closer to automating the book-to-tax nightmare that we all have experienced.
Tally 4 is built for tax professionals. Grow your team with cross-team coordination and time-saving smarts.
Okay, hand typing stuff into your tax return causes errors, spending a lot more time. You're doing that, you're wasting your time and your staff's time. You need to get on Tally 4 to help you save time and reduce errors. You're doing it all on Excel, and then you're going into the tax return and typing it.
So you guys use Xero, right? And how are you currently doing this?
Yeah, it's a lot of manual entry. Now, if you use Tally 4, it's 4 seconds from 0 to Tally 4, codes all the transactions on the trial balance and puts it into the tax system.
For us, at our firm, we used to use Thomson Reuters Accounting CS, and that would automatically import into the return, but it was actual write-up where we were keying in transactions from bank statements. We were spending hours and hours just to get the accounting data in there. So when we switched over to Xero, it saved us a ton of time for the last 5 years, but it wasn't integrated with the tax software. We say that we're a modern firm, we say we're future forward, and we're manually keying stuff into the tax return, exporting maybe a CSV from Xero.
Like a loser.
Yeah, like a loser, and importing data manually.
Don't be a loser like Scott. Use Tally 4.
So running a modern firm that we have hand keying P&Ls is childish or silly. I don't even know how much time we're spending on that, but I know that we will save a ton of time when we move over to Tally 4.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, it's going to save your firm between 30 and 45 minutes of tax return. So multiply that by how many tax returns you do, that's a lot of time and money that you're saving. If you use a product like UltraTax, Lacert, Drake, CCH Access, or Pro Systems, you're probably doing some form of work papers or spreadsheets outside of your Xero, QuickBooks, Sage platforms that manually enter the data into your tax platform, or creating a separate upload.
It is time-consuming and error-prone. Transform this process from what used to take an hour down to only 10 minutes.
The reason we adopt tech at our firm is to create more time and space to better serve the clients and less time being the middleman carrying information from one cloud tool to another.
And for those of you that are already familiar with integrations, think of this as the Zapier from book to tax.
Award-winning Tally 4 uses bank-grade security in the cloud, and it works with any accounting software. Increased capacity without increasing labor costs and time spent in the office.
Tax experts unite and become tax heroes.
Skip the wait list and sign up in less than 5 minutes at tally4.com/VIP. That's TALLYFOR.com/VIP.
Thank you, everybody.
I can't say anything. Well, do you want to hear, like, this is interesting. This came up today. So I've got a real estate agent, and he now has a letter from the IRS.
And the other thing that drives, and this is just a personal problem I have, we're there hopefully to Jason's question, we're there hopefully to help solve systemic problems. And anytime anyone in a meeting starts off their comment with, I have a client, I get infuriated because you're not there to solve systemic problems with that. You're there to get help with a client issue, and that's not why we're here. And unless you can tell me that that client issue represents a systemic problem to the system, you're wasting our time and you're taking advantage of the access you've been granted. There's too many of those when you go to 60.
Self-serving people. That's
Yep.
all it is. They get in the door so they can serve themselves.
Yeah. Because Jason, your question was posed at our last meeting that we had, by a person is you guys are doing a horrible job. What's the reason? How do we solve it? And instead of an ongoing discussion for the next hour, all we did was people piping in, explaining the client problem that they had that backed up.
You mean exactly what Scott just did.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly what I always do. What I always do. But
Yeah. Like you said, it's just we need to be able to, and I think we could, if they let us help, call and resolve something over the phone instead of having to send a letter, like figure out ways that we can process things faster that will help the IRS so they don't have to generate letters and do all this stuff that they're doing now. I feel bad for the IRS. Like you said, they've been under, we keep taking their money away and we keep giving them more responsibility. That doesn't make any sense.
No. And the tax code doesn't get simpler. The tax code gets more and more complicated. You don't realize what a last minute tax change does to the programmers who have to be ready to accept the tax return in 30 days.
Yeah.
Congress changes a law 45 days before the first of the year, and yet they're expecting.
You're lucky. Normally it's January 1st.
Yeah. I don't know. There's plenty of blame to go around. I mean, all of us play some role in it. We keep hearing about a simplified tax system. Give me a break. I mean, we're not even close to that. And we're doing nothing to make it simpler. We're making it harder. Now, selfishly, for people like us, that's not a bad thing, but it shouldn't be. We profit to make you.
No one could do a tax return on their own.
No.
Well, people can because I'll say this, like for the vast majority of people that don't itemize, that don't need
if you
that
have
much help.
W-2, you can do it on your own. But most people now, it's the gig economy. They're 1099s. They're doing all this other stuff. It's not simplified.
Yeah. We should be more responsible.
I think people can do their own taxes because doing it right doesn't seem to be as important as it used to be. As long as you get close and it goes through some computer check, you're fine. You guys have done this for a while. How many real audits have either of you sat through for a client?
I think in
IRS
office, in the last 5 years, I think we've had 3.
Yeah, I think maybe 2 or 1.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of audits anymore.
There's no real enforcement function of the IRS. They don't have time to do. When I first started going back years ago, there was a genuine belief you had to do it properly because if you didn't, you were going to get caught. I don't think many people believe that today. So taking the time to learn something and doing it properly, and there's no enforcement. I keep telling people, how fast would you drive if there was no policeman on the side of the road? And that's kind of where we are right now, unfortunately, is that there's no enforcement. It's all got to come from us. I have to want to do it right. There's nobody out there making it.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about that today. And they just did a study with the IRS about how many multimillionaires just aren't filing tax returns because they know they can get away with it. That's what Congress, I guess there's a cynical side that says they know that and they just, that's who is funding them and they don't care.
The self-serving
or they just don't know it. Because that would be an easy way to raise revenue for the government without increasing taxes, hypothetically.
Oh, there's study after study of how much a new revenue agent brings in when they hire them and put them out. I mean, it's amazing. And
to pay them more too, give them a commission.
But the sad thing is it's not intent. Intent and ignorance have the same effect on the tax system. Yeah. Whether I do it wrong intentionally or because I don't know how to do it, at the end of the day, they're both wrong and the system lets you get away with it. That's part of the budget problem is, again, I can remember years ago, people having small business owners got audited or knew someone that got audited. Go find a client that knows anybody that got audited. And so what do they worry about?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Let's just steer off of the IRS train for a little bit because we're
Okay.
starting to get negative. I think
We got them worked up though. I like it.
I think we're starting to get negative though. I think we want to focus on the fun. So let's go back to how
Well, we
about
can't fix that one. So let's see if there's something we
so how about this? The game of chess. In the chess game of Padgett, what's your role, right? You're president. Like we're talking politics and we're talking you're the president. I've asked it a couple times before. Ackerman doesn't like it so much. In my life in chess, I would think that I'm the queen. I can move around the board, I can do anything, but if Juana goes down, our whole house goes down, right? She holds that down. She may move one or two pieces here and there. So I want you to answer this question. Yeah.
Wow. Well, for me, it's a chess piece. So
Has anyone ever asked you that before?
no,
This
No.
is what you get at Sons of CPAs. You got to
no, I
think.
can say no one's
got
ever
to
asked me that before.
Do you
know,
dislike the question? I don't have to ask.
No, I'm trying to answer it in a chess world, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull. I know there's a rook, I know there's a pawn, I know there's a king, I know there's a queen.
So you're not a pawn, obviously. You know?
It depends on which day, Scott.
It depends on which day. Some days you're a pawn, but honestly, but sorry, keep going. You played chess.
You should say
first
this
of
on your
all,
chess podcast, which you have on the side.
I am going to merge this with my chess podcast. We're going to be the Sons of Bishops. That's
I
the
forgot
new name.
yeah. See, I see me more as a checkerboard.
There we go.
Okay. That's a good answer. That I like that.
There's too much royalty in chess. I'm just a plain
Perfect
checkerboard.
answer. Thank you.
I'm just a red or a black checker. And
So the founder of Practice Ignition, he didn't answer this, but he said he's the janitor, right? And he says he will go do anything anybody at the team asks of him because he sees himself as the janitor. I said, why not custodian? And he says, that's too much politics. Like he just said janitor. That's what he means. And I think that's kind of why we get your answer, because everybody on the board is equal. We're all playing for the same team. We're all the red team or we're all the black team, and we're trying to get to the other end together, right? That's a perfect answer. I love that.
I mean, when you asked me, my first thing before you threw chess in there was, well, I guess I'm the historian. That's one role I play because I'm the one who knows the history the most. But I try to be the devil's advocate.
Okay.
I try to play that role, just to make
I think
sure.
that's more of a rook. Or what's the horse? I don't even know. I have a chess podcast. I don't know what the horse is. Yeah. Strategic though. I think that's more strategic. You want to fight your own impulses to fight for something and be devil's advocate. That takes a little bit more strategy in your thought process, right? In your mindset.
But yeah, I want to be the devil's advocate that's also the team player. Once I want to have my say, I want to challenge people to make sure things have been thought out properly. But then when the decision's made, I want to support it 100% and go forward and hope to make it successful. I don't think that's like I said, I don't know if that's a chess game, a checker game. I don't know what it is, but trying to make me a chess player, Scott, puts me in a lot higher royalty than I have ever thought of myself. So that's why
Get your crown and your coat.
titles
Crown
not
your coat. But that's actually the kind of how I would have guessed, so to speak, like that it takes a certain level of affability and understanding and not as much ego to run a company. You have to be able to listen to everybody.
Yeah. Well, you better listen to everybody if you want to have a team. And I think teamwork. I played a lot of sports growing up, so teamwork's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're a team, and we have to feel like we're part of the team. And when you're part of a team, that means your success is not judged by what you do; it's judged how the team does. And at the end of the day, you better help foster a good working relationship. So I try to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what's the biggest change from when you were a franchise owner to going corporate?
At the end of the day, every checker player can become a king, right? King me when you get to the other end.
Before I was dealing with restaurant owners and convenience store owners and insurance agents, and now you're dealing with other people in the same profession with you, and you're trying to help them understand the business that we're in, as opposed to helping a small business owner who got into business probably because they loved what they were doing as much as how much money they could make for it. I think that's the one thing I learned working with clients. In many cases, they didn't make as much owning a business as they could have working for someone else, but they loved it so much that they wanted to do it. So money wasn't always the driving force. When you're dealing with small business owners and franchisees, most of them are driven by the fact that they want to make a decent living. They want to make money. I don't know anybody got into this business because they just love it so much that they like working 20-hour days and 7 days a week during tax season,
I beg to differ. Ackerman loves to work a lot. He's bimodal. He's bimodal almost.
Yeah.
I think we like helping our clients. I think that's what we
Yeah,
like.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone liked.
Well, let's talk about the client versus the accountant owner. How come they can't be the same? For me, I feel like I own a business and I do not like to work 20-hour days. I have done that and I got away from it. Now I don't work as much, but it's almost like the Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like the clients are at that point to where they're at the top. They don't care as much about all those other things because they just care about their business. They care about what they're doing, like Maslow's business hierarchy. For me, I care more about my team. I care more about the clients. I care more about that than I care about my own pocket. And I do care about my pocket. Don't get me wrong. I do need to make money, but at the same time, I do care more about their happiness in the clients' faces and the team's faces than I care about how much I'm paying them or how much the clients are paying us, right? And that's just me speaking. I don't know if that's the same.
Well, I will say this, based on my many, many years of experience, you two are not typical of the profession as a whole. And that's not to say that your listeners aren't, because this is unique. You do this, they listen to this. But a lot of people's badge of honor is how many hours they put in, I remember walking in, Scott, to, our training room here. I walked into it once to start teaching a class, and there was 2 office owners sitting, and they were arguing about who worked the most.
Why?
Not how much money they made, but they were trying to compare. Well, I worked this much longer. Well, I did this. And I sat there and listened for a minute, and you could tell that their pride and everything about them was based on who put in the most hours. And
what are they competing for? Like,
I don't know. I'm sitting there saying, you're in the wrong class, because I'm not teaching you how to work more. I'm trying to teach you how to work less.
Thank you.
But I think we can do all these things and be smart. I think the biggest mistake we make is we don't set priorities. If I don't want to work 20 hours a day and I set a rule, I won't work 20 hours a day. Now, there may be consequences to that, good or bad. But if we set priorities and set rules, we make our own decisions. Nobody forces us to do the things that we do. So if you don't want to work 20 hours a day, don't. And see what you have to change. We want everything. I want to only work 10 hours, but I want to do everything the way I always did it. Well, that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. What's more important, how many hours you work or what you get done? And the other thing that I've told people recently, when it comes to how long you work and rewards, I said, I want you to do this. The next time you decide to stay at your office till 10 o'clock at night because you've got something to do, before you get to work on whatever that is, pick up the phone, call home and tell your family, I just made a decision that this client is more important than you, so I'm staying at the office till 10 o'clock tonight. And
my wife would like that, but
that's bullshit. That's BS.
She'd say,
that's what you do every day.
No, but but Ackerman, no, he embodies that, because he doesn't. I think that when I say he used to work a lot, like when I used to meeting a couple months ago, like I would get frustrated because he was working and he didn't want to work on a podcast with me. Like, we both care more about our family. He's having a baby. He's having a baby. He's not pregnant. Look, you're losing some weight here. Yeah. He's leaning back. Yeah. But but he gets it though. I think that he spends and he dedicates a lot of time to her. They travel and they do things that, a family would do. And he's very successful tax practitioner too. Tax practitioner. They got, how many employees do you have?
A lot
of employees. They have like 30 plus employees.
It's not about us, but
all right. It's not about him.
But your point is right, which is the industry. No one wants to go. Millennials don't want to work 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week. They want to have a family. They want to have their passions, and
you can't. So, I'll give you another Walt Padgett saying that
I love these. Yes.
Yeah.
Do not spend $5 of my money looking for $1 of somebody else's.
I love that.
What does that mean to you, Roger?
It means put things in perspective. I've got to make money. You've got to do a job. To me, it was a different way of describing the old concept of materiality. At times we chase down to the penny. If I'm reconciling somebody's bank account, I've got to find every penny that caused the difference instead of just saying it's off. Here's the amount. Put materiality and decisions into every decision you make. Are you making the right
love
decision
that.
for yourself?
I think that's the hardest thing to teach people is that, because they're taught in school, how to do the work, but they're not
Yeah.
taught the big picture, and they lose the forest through the trees, or
Exactly.
whatever the saying is. They can't see the
I know
forest.
this. Yeah.
They look at the trees.
Can't see the forest from the
I talked with our young people about that all the time. So I'm like, don't spend, like, I had a client send a notice. It was $21. I'm like, pay it.
Exactly. What are you going to do?
I'm not going to spend time on a $21 notice
No,
from IRS.
everything has to be judged as based on the priorities you've set and what's material and what's not material. And if you do those things, you'll find the right balance. But if you let anything get out of whack, then the next thing you know, you're chasing down pennies and working all night. And
You're missing the $100,000 mistake because you're looking at the $10, $20.
And then how much are they paying you? Because they're paying you $800 or $900 a month, and you're worried about $21. Then take it out of your damn fee, right?
I'd rather go home. I'll give you the damn $20.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it out of your fee and just
I've
say,
done
okay,
that.
we're done. I've done it too. Like that's easier to say, yeah, we made a mistake. I'm sorry. Oh, are you mad about $35? Here's $35. I'll send it to you Venmo or something like that.
I'm going home. My son's got a little league game. I'm not sitting down here looking for your money.
Yeah.
So what do you look at for a new Padgett franchise owner?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because we just came back from a session of trying to decide who that is in the world we live in today. And I can tell you what we hope it is. We hope that going forward, first of all, we pick from a diverse field of candidates. In the world we're in today, we want to make sure that our candidates are diverse. We want them to be knowledgeable. We want them to understand, obviously, technology, which I don't think anybody, in the 30s or 40s isn't going to understand technology. We want them to be entrepreneurial. And I'd like them to have, understand what it means to be part of a team. Now, does that mean that's perfect and they'll all succeed? No. But I think if we find people like that, we have a better chance of finding people that'll be successful. And those people are out there.
Where do I sign up?
Oh my God.
You already have.
Yeah, I'm bugging around. I'm kidding.
I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of what we came up with. Is that's the kind of person that we want to attract going forward, and that means that we're going to have to change some things, and we're doing that to be attractive to those people.
Love that. Okay, before we go, I want you to tell us some, because my dad has like 1 million of these. Tell us some old client stories.
Oh yeah, tell us a really good client
Every
story.
old accountant. Not that you're that old, but they all have.
Well, I'm not old. I mean,
Roger, how old are you?
It's
Just
my
clarify.
dad.
on the August 31st, I will be 71 years old.
70. So you're
Oh,
70
one more
right
year
now.
for RMDs.
Yeah. Or
They always give us a long weekend that weekend. Labor Day, I take credit for as being a celebration of my birthday.
Roger's Labor Day, because you put in a lot of labor. You put in a lot of work.
I love.
I'll give you a story because of what we said earlier about the fear of the IRS. I remember this was kind of when I was just graduated from, runner to real accountant, I guess. So I went to one of the clients. It actually was a service station. So that tells you how long ago, when's the last time you actually saw a service station. And I walked in and the owner wasn't there. And there was a diner across the street. And I asked the employees, I said, well, I don't remember what the owner's name was. Where is he? He said, he's across the street having lunch. I said, well, call him and tell him the IRS is here. And so he said, you sure? I said, yeah, call him and tell him the IRS is here. I need to see him. So the employee called the diner and you could hear him kind of yell in the background. And within 10 seconds, you see the door across the street just burst open. And a guy come running across a 4-lane road and almost getting hit twice by a car. And I thought, oh, he is going to kill me when he gets over here. And he got in and saw who it was. Instead of wanting to kill me, he was so relieved it wasn't the IRS. He didn't get it back. That's probably the only one I can tell to a public thing, but that's
Which road was this? I'm just trying to envision which.
Highway 78. It was in Loganville, Georgia.
I think we should recreate this with you, Scott, and see if you survive.
I will do it. I'll do it when I next.
You have to have someone who is generally afraid and has reason to be generally afraid.
See, I got no reason to be afraid though. I wouldn't run. I would run if there was a lion. If he had a tiger with him, like I would run from a tiger. That's the one way you get run around the
I
street.
saw him burst out of that. This wasn't a young guy, and I'm thinking he's going to kill himself. Then he almost got run over, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that was a really bad idea. But
I love that. What give us advice. One piece of advice that you can give our listeners of all your years of learning. What's the biggest thing you can give them?
I think he gave an hour's worth of advice, but yeah, I mean, if you go to pill one out of your
but
pocket.
now we're gonna sum it up into one main thing.
well, if I'm talking to you as a person, set priorities and stick to them. And that means not just business priorities, that means family, personal, everything. You'll be amazed at what will happen to your life in general if you put your priorities in order and stick to them. So that's what I would say as a person. If I'm talking to you in a business standpoint, it's going to be look ahead and be proactive, be different. Talk to people about what can make their life better. And that's not the past, that's the future. Be proactive, make suggestions, help them do better, and you'll do fine. So that's what that's a simple way of saying, focus on what's important to the client and you'll do fine.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
Mr. Harris, this has been an honor. Hopefully we'll get to play golf one day in Athens. I'll come down.
I was going to ask you one more question. What are your thoughts of Jeff after about a year? Because we had Jeff on our podcast.
God.
I think Jeff's a likable guy, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, I have really enjoyed getting to know Jeff and working with Jeff. I think he was the perfect person at this time to bring into the company. I keep telling him, I said, I haven't told you everything yet, so just don't think it's this easy. There's still things that you have to learn. But I think he's doing a great job. I like the direction he's taken the company. I like the people that he brought in. I think we're a better company today than the day he joined us. And I'm just happy to be here and be able to help him. And hopefully I'll be here and able to help him for a while forward.
And I didn't ask him the same question, but I'll say you're the apple of his eye. I say he really does enjoy working with you, and he speaks about you very highly. He enjoys the two-headedness of what you guys have, because he's thinking very future forward, and you're thinking of how to bridge that, so to speak. And I don't know if I've encapsulated it.
No, I think we get along good. The interesting thing, I told him this and said, you're the same age as my son. So I look at him at times and I say, remember, that's not your son.
Yeah. No. See, that's funny too, because I look at him, I can't look at him as anything but a friend. And it's like, to me, I have trouble.
Yeah. Before he joined us. Yeah. No, he's perfect. I mean, well, he's not perfect. None of us are perfect, but he was the perfect choice for the position.
I think so too. Yeah.
We needed him.
At the time, you guys were in a lot of turmoil, so to speak. But I think for the time and the time that we're in the middle of a lot of change. I think he can help bridge that gap. He does a pretty good job of it. And Amanda too, we also had her on the podcast, and she's perfect for the position that she's in. We're ushering a new future forward, right? I know that you have an appointment at 3:30 because I think I have to be at the same one. Yeah, that is a fact. Roger, thank you so much for the time.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
And if you are listening, please, if you could leave us a review, that would be awesome.
You can leave them all 5 stars. Be nice to the old guy.
Be nice to the old guy. Yeah,
you would get a 5-star.
Roger, the Padgett people, but I think they might enjoy listening to this too, because I do think that we've had some good people that they could relate to. Yeah.
We've had me, Jeff, and Miranda. We need to give you credit.
Knocking down the pins. I'm kidding. All right, it's been great. Thanks.
Take care.
Scott, I'll see you in a few minutes.